CR7 finally gets his knockout goal as Portugal prevails, but were Croatia robbed? Meanwhile, the European champions finally show up. Switzerland, led by their star boy, end an 88-year winless drought. And City hijack Arsenal's deal for England's most wanted youngster. This is DMAC Daily. Another day of World Cup insanity, jubilation, devastation, VAR drama, cinema is guaranteed at this point. And Portugal v Croatia, the heavily anticipated Unc Off, the meeting of two top-level teams, well and truly lived up to the billing, with Portugal advancing to the quarterfinal stages, winning 2-1 on the day. CR7 scoring his first ever knockout stage goal from the spot before his replacement Gonçalo Ramos headed home the match winner. That's the TLDR, but there's so much to talk about with this match because, I'll be honest, it exceeded my expectations. I was concerned it would have been a bit of a dull affair today, considering that neither team had found form in their opening 3 games. Portugal largely struggled in the group stages. They were outplayed by Colombia. It was only against Uzbekistan where they seemed to gel. As for Croatia, this agent core were blown away by a physical England side in their opener, and even though they won the next 2 games, they weren't exactly lighting up the tournament. But there lies the beauty of Croatia, because the perennial overachievers under their legendary manager Zlatko Dalic always seem to rise to the occasion on the world stage. You look at that starting 11 today, and it appears devoid of speed and elite quality up top. Even their star players are, for the most part, past their prime. Yet I don't know what it is, whether it's tactical, the team chemistry, or something that happens when they put on that jersey, but they can match it with anyone. As for Portugal's starting 11, it was great to see Rafael Leão entrusted from the start today. Talent-wise, he's in my opinion their best winger, and I thought he looked lively in that first half, almost setting up Bruno Fernandes, but Livakovic denied him. I can't lie, the first half in general was a bit underwhelming. It was a rather cagey affair. Both teams didn't appear overly keen on taking risks and going out on the attack. Croatia in particular really struggled to get out of their own half at times. The second half, however, the sport itself changed. We went from a football match to a full-blown basketball contest. Croatia did the equivalent of leaning forward in a game of FIFA as they locked in, and just 7 minutes later, the breakthrough came via perhaps the most underrated Unc to ever do it, Ivan Perisic, the inverted left back, who snuck in at the back post, composed himself with the touch, and let fly. Bang! 1-0. Did anyone expect another outcome? I feel like he's scored this kind of goal on repeat his entire career. Bro does not have a weak foot. Unreal stuff. And it got even better for the Croatians less than 2 minutes later. This time, Matanovic with the first time finish, but would be ruled out offside. Then the ball goes down the other end, and Leão almost scores a goal of the tournament contender, but the crossbar denies him. And a minute after, Ronaldo did find the back of the net. The GOAT himself, Pedro Neto, of course, with a good ball and an even better touch and finish by CR7. Yet VAR would deny the 41-year-old his long-awaited knockout stage goal by the narrowest of margins too. Yet, as I mentioned, this was a basketball match, and only moments later, a penalty would be awarded to Croatia. No complaints either, a clear foul. And so CR7 stepped up and delivered his biggest World Cup knockout stages moment yet, scoring from 12 yards to put Portugal level. Less than 10 minutes later, and Kovacic almost scored twice in the space of 10 seconds, hitting the post first off of an incredible save from Costa before the midfielder was denied again with a half volley attempt this time. A goal was coming, and it arrives. Kovacic with a defense-splitting pass, finding Sucic in space, who slotted past Costa. However, the flag was up with semi-automated tech, denying Croatia of their second. CR7 was then substituted, a big call at the time, considering he's their principal striker, their main man, but credit to Roberto Martinez. I've been his biggest critic all tournament, but he made a brave call in trusting in Gonçalo Ramos instead, and in the latter stages, that gamble paid off. Leão's ball whipped into the danger area, and the soon-to-be Milan center forward towering above the Croatian defense and heading past Livakovic. A 93rd minute goal to give Portugal the lead. Unbelievable scenes, but this was the game that kept on giving for the neutrals. and more chaos would soon unfold. In the 102nd minute, literally the last roll of the dice, Perisic crossed into the danger area, a goal-mouth scramble followed, and Gvardiol would pop up with the final touch to equalize for Croatia. Limbs absolutely everywhere. Portugal completely shell-shocked. They just couldn't hold on. Extra time beckoned, but the scriptwriters on that day had another idea as VAR would once again intervene. The new era of football tech was on full display. A sensor on the ball apparently picking up the slightest of touches from Matanovic, therefore putting Pasalic offside. Now the ball also struck Vega in that split second too, but the referee's interpretation there is that his touch is involuntary. So Pasalic is still off, meaning the goal is ruled out. And that was all she wrote. Croatia fans, like Senegalese fans yesterday, will feel completely aggrieved with the VAR call. I think this one is even more controversial than yesterday's. The stakes of it are just so brutal. I'll be completely honest, I don't actually have a strongly held opinion on this call because I can't see the touch, but the tech says otherwise. Whether you believe the tech is up to you. Regardless, a horrible way for Croatia, for Modric, for potentially Perisic to go out. As for Portugal, they advanced to the round of 16 where they're set to face another powerhouse nation, Spain, a rematch of the 2025 Nations League final. The rematch of Unc Ronaldo versus 18-year-old Yamal. What a compelling contest that will be. I still think this Portugal team is flawed, but having won today, their self-belief will have rapidly improved. Maybe they'll just keep on growing with every match that they stay alive. One thing I can't fault them on is their squad harmony. It seems a real tight-knit group. So CR7's World Cup legacy lives to fight another day. We move next to Portugal's opponent, Spain, who have made light work of Austria 3-0 in what was La Roja's best showing at this year's tournament. They'd been largely underwhelming in the group stages. I mean, shout out to Cabo Verde. That was an incredible result, but with all due respect, Spain should have won that game. They still did end up topping the group, but the team was clearly not performing at the levels of their previous major tournament. For a nation renowned for playing free-flowing, attack-minded football, we've been yet to see that. Injuries hadn't helped the cause, with Yamal only just coming back, and their other wide star, Nico Williams, suffering a fresh injury upon his recent return. But injuries aside, the biggest criticism De La Fuente had faced was that his teams haven't been particularly attacking-minded. Yet the side he selected today showed more ambition in my opinion. Pedro Porro offers more offensively at right back than Llorente, as does Olmo in the 10 over Marino or Luis, and from the get-go, Spain were on the front foot. Yamal getting on the ball frequently, lots of intricate link-up play, still lacking that ruthlessness of what we see in qualifying and previous tournaments. After 28 minutes, Spain thought they'd then hit the front, Cucurella smashing one in off a corner. However, VAR agreed with the on-field ruling of a foul in the build-up. I thought it was a little soft in my opinion, but to be fair, keepers are a protected species nowadays. That being said, Spain would break the deadlock 7 minutes later, Cucurella fizzing in a lovely low cross to Oyarzabal, who cleverly found the back of the net. A great finish from Spain's unconventional striker. On the stroke of half-time, Baena almost scored a screamer free kick before Yamal's close range attempt was denied by Schlager. So Austria managed to keep this scoreline within intact at the break. They then had a decent chance 60 minutes in. Last match day's hero Kalajic with a towering header over the bar. Spain would make them pay for that miss though. The Villarreal man Baena delivering into the box, and Pedro Porro, the fullback, brought into the team coming up with the goods. Yamal came so close to putting the game out of sight with his attempt cleared off the line by Danso, but the final blow would arrive late on. Cucurella with another beautiful ball served on a platter for Oyarzabal, and how's this for a finish? He's left-footed, but instead he lets the ball come across his body onto his weaker right to dispatch past the keeper. Game, set and match Spain against a good but not great Austrian team. No shame in losing to Spain, but I think Ralf Rangnick will be slightly disappointed with their overall performance today. As for De La Fuente, job well done. I think this was Spain's best showing of the entire tournament. A lot of positives to take, even though it wasn't a perfect showing, starting with the back line, and it's a clean sheet delivered. For all the previous criticisms this team has faced, the defense has not been one of them. They're yet to concede a goal the entire tournament. Their back four looks very organized in their setup, which is impressive considering both fullbacks evidently like to get forward and contribute offensively. I didn't actually think Porro played all that well today. He and Yamal seem to be on different wavelengths at times, but you'd assume he'll keep his place in the team. In midfield, both Pedri and Rodri didn't really put a foot wrong. I think a lot of people expect more because of their esteemed reputation, but I think against the best teams, you'll really see just how influential they are on the park. Same thing with Olmo. He didn't do anything spectacular on the pitch. However, Spain clearly functioned better with him in midfield, a player who can drift into all kinds of spaces, giving the opposition something to think about constantly and opening space for Oyarzabal. I think the most promising aspect of today was Yamal's performance. Man of the match today, looking more like his former lively self. Loads of dribbles and chances created, just lacking the end product right now. Maybe he's saving the big games for the latter stages of the tournament. I'd personally love to see Williams restored back into the starting 11 soon. I know Baena did well today, however that dynamism is lacking on the left wing at times. Also, we gotta put some respect on the bagsman that is Oyarzabal. 5 goal involvements in 4 World Cup games. He's so clever with his movement. Understand, this is a guy who spent the bulk of his career on the wing or as a playmaker, but in his late 20s has transitioned into a rather unique center forward. Someone with immense quality on the ball, but has this strange role, almost like a free-roaming poacher. It's funny, off the back of a career best rate of return with Sociedad, people still question whether he's a big enough name to deliver for Spain on the world stage, yet it was this same guy that scored the winner for Spain at Euro 2024, and he's since remained prolific for the national team ever since, so don't sleep on this guy. He is their not-so-secret weapon at this point, but the question still remains, can this Spain team live up to the pre-tournament hype and take down the big boys in the days and weeks ahead? Only time will tell. Staying in World Cup news, and Switzerland have breezed past a feckless Algeria side 2-0, achieving their first knockout stage victory since 1938. And while this probably won't be remembered as one of the classics of the tournament, it was another reminder of why Switzerland are one of international football's most consistently difficult teams to beat. We all know they started this tournament in rather embarrassing fashion, right? Dropping points to a pretty woeful Qatar side, yet they've since bounced back brilliantly with 3 straight wins at this World Cup, and they're quietly building momentum heading into the latter stages. The standout performer today, once again, was Johan Manzambi. Before this tournament, the 20-year-old Freiburg midfielder was relatively unknown outside of Germany. Now, he's becoming the tournament's breakout star, and against Algeria, he produced another moment of genuine quality, picking up the ball inside Algeria's half. He then drove directly at defender Mandi, shrugging off multiple attempts to stop him before reaching the byline and cutting the ball back perfectly for Embolo to tap home. The speed and proficiency in that dribble, this kid's a real problem. His 5th goal involvement of the tournament now. That's more than Mbappe's debut tournament in 2018, and we're in the round of 16. Like, damn, I knew Manzambi was talented, but I didn't expect this level of quality. Sorry, Freiburg, but he is destined for a big transfer this summer. Anyways, 1-0 down at halftime. Algeria was still within reach, but just 46 seconds after the restart, they'd then be 2-0 down after some woeful defending by the African side was pounced on by Dan and Doy. A good finish, but a bit of a howler to concede defensively speaking. Speaking of howlers, and we may have just witnessed the miss of the tournament as Fabian Rieder somehow managed to score with an open goal at his mercy. Embarrassing stuff for the Swiss midfielder, although thankfully for his sake, it had absolutely no bearing on the result. So for Algeria, it's another painful knockout exit and another blow for African football, with 5 of the continent's 6 knockout representatives now eliminated. As for Switzerland, great result, defensively solid, same thing in midfield. It's a really balanced side, and the sheer pace in that front 4 is electric. They are so dangerous, particularly in transition. You know, Algeria dominated possession today, but it played directly into Switzerland's strengths on the counter. They're a side that can dominate without having the ball. They've got a star boy growing in stature every single game. Low-key, this Switzerland team has got some motion and are not to be taken lightly. And now to finish up with some transfer news, and Manchester City have hijacked Arsenal's move for Leicester City wonder kid Jeremy Monga, with City now working to complete a deal for around £10 million for the 16-year-old winger. Despite the age, Monga isn't just another academy prospect. He's already made 37 senior appearances. He also became one of the youngest players in Premier League history and has spent the last 2 seasons around Leicester's first team rather than simply dominating youth football, which was why Arsenal were first reported to be interested in the youngster. According to The Telegraph, they'd previously held talks talks for the player, and the idea was clearly to add another elite English talent into a pathway that already includes Max Dowman amongst a host of other young talents. But having seen their opening bid rejected, they've been unable to agree a fee, opening the door for City to pounce. Something to keep in mind here is the Maresca connection too. The City manager knows Monga from his time at Leicester, so this is not just City's recruitment department gambling on a teenager with good data. This is a manager who has seen him up close. He understands his potential and clearly believes he is worth pushing for. From Leicester's perspective, the situation is painful. They don't want to lose such a prize talent so soon, but understandable considering their circumstances. They are in League One right now. They've been hit with PSR issues in the past and are in need of cash ASAP. So while selling one of the premium young talents in English football is not a situation they want to be in, a package in the region of £10 million for a 16-year-old is difficult to ignore. Now, if this deal does inevitably come to fruition, it's believed that Mongo won't just be part of City's academy side. He's expected to be involved in City's first team for pre-season to gauge whether he's good enough moving forward, although considering how stacked the forward line is at City and where Monga's at in his career, the most likely scenario is that City would look to loan him out to either a championship or maybe even a Premier League side. At this stage of his career, he needs regular senior minutes. So staying at City this season probably wouldn't make much sense. Now, as of recording, this deal isn't finalized. I wouldn't be surprised to see Arsenal or potentially another top team look into signing him. The Athletic are reporting that Real Madrid and Chelsea have taken an interest in the player in the past. I know he's a relatively unproven player, but for only 10 mil, that seems like a bit of a steal. We'll just have to wait and see if City get this one done. Anyways, guys, that's all for today's DMAC Daily. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow for the big one, Socceroos v Egypt. I cannot wait.